Welcome to the Data Visualization Project LineGraph video. In this video, I'll show you how to make a line graph for your visualization. Remember, line graphs show data that change over time. So if that's the story that you want to tell, well then a line graph will be perfect. There are 3 steps to making this happen. Number 1, you need to get your files, and you need to make copies of some of those files in there. Number 2, you need to edit your Excel sheet, and we'll talk about 3 sub-steps there. And finally, editing your Python code. So how do you start? Let's start with getting your files. If you open up a new tab and go to drive.google.com and then find your 8th grade math folder, and then inside your 8th grade math folder, you have your data visualization zip file. You'll 2-finger click on it, and you'll click download. And your data visualization file will either open for you in the browser, or it will open in your, or it'll be sent to your downloads folder. If you click on your downloads folder, you can see the zip file there. And if you click on it, it'll unzip that zip file, and now you've got a folder. Some of you may see this version from this view in Finder, and that's fine. It's just the inside of that file. But if you click backwards, then you can see the zip file as well as the actual folder itself. So now I can continue with step 1. It says make copies of the .py and .xls files. So what I want to do is find the LineGraph py file, and I'll 2-finger click on it, and I will duplicate it. And again, I'll 2-finger click on it, and I'll rename it. And this time the copy, I want to change to my last name underscore LineGraph and get rid of the word copy. Okay, so now I've got a LineGraph Python file. And you might be wondering, why didn't we just use this one? Well, if this one gets messed up in any way, we can just go back and duplicate this one. So I've got this Python file ready to go. And then I need to also make a copy of the Excel file. And this is what we did yesterday, is we made a copy of the data visualization option. So I'll 2-finger click on it, duplicate it, and I'll find the copy. I'll go ahead and 2-finger click, rename it. And I'll name this one also my last name underscore LineGraph. Oops, LineGraph. Okay, so now I have 2 files that are named the same thing, but one's the Python file and one's the Excel file. Again, I'm making this copy of it so that if something gets screwed up in my data, I can go back here to the original master file. All right, step 2. It says edit the Excel sheet. So at this point, what I want to do is go ahead and open up my Excel sheet. And once the Excel sheet opens up, I will find all of my the data and everything that's laid out there. And it says on this slide here, it says get data that you need on a new sheet. Okay, so what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to, mine is taking a little while to open up. Let me go ahead and double click that again. Okay, there we go. So what I'm going to want to do is whatever data you need to tell your story, it should go on a new sheet. So I'll go ahead and click new sheet, and I'll 2-finger click it and just rename it. And it actually doesn't matter what you rename it to. I'll just call it LineGraph. So this is where I'm going to put my information. Now, going back here, I need to get the data that I need on the new sheet. But ultimately, that's up to you to decide what that data is going to be so that you can tell your story. Here's what I will say. You should compare your data to the handout though. And what I'm talking about is this data handout right here. And on page 2, you'll see a line graph. And so if I wanted a line graph that looked something like this, where I'm comparing international migrants in US and Russia, well, it has to show my years in column A. That's where I put my years. And you'll notice that year shows up at the bottom. So that's my x-axis right here. And then One line is represented by a second column, which is the US, and the second line is represented by this third column for Russia. And then over on the left side is my count. Okay, so again, I can't tell you what you should put in this file right here in the line graph data, but all I can say is just compare it to this sample to see if it looks similar, because that will tell you whether your data is correct. So I'll go ahead and make one for myself. I'll just kind of recopy that one that I was doing. So I want to do years in the first column, years, and then I want to do US, and we'll just do Russia again. Again, doesn't matter which one it is as long as it looks similar. So I'll go back to my international migrants, and I will go ahead and copy the years, Command C. And remember, to transpose things, I need to do a two-finger click, paste special, and then transpose. And so I've got my years. Now I'll go back to finding the United States. Copy that. Again, I'm just making my own graph. You're going to have to decide what your graph is going to be and what data you need to get. Let me find Russia. And I'll transpose. All right, I have the information that I need. I'm going to compare it here. Yeah, it looks pretty similar. And so now it says delete all the other sheets, just like we did for the algebra practice with Excel worksheet. We deleted all the unnecessary sheets at the end. It's because Python can only work with one sheet in an Excel file. So I'll go ahead and delete all these unnecessary sheets by clicking on it, two-finger click and delete. And remember, if I want to delete multiple, I can click on one, hold the shift button, keep holding the shift button, click on the other ones, two-finger click and delete. And now I've got just the file that I'm working with, and I'll go ahead and save that. All right, I am done now with step 2. All I need to do now is edit my Python code. My Python code is located in here. It's this in LineGraph.py, but I don't want to double click on it from here. Here's how we're going to access this file. Do a command spacebar, type in terminal, and it's going to open up this terminal window. Terminal is just a program used to access different parts of the computer, and it allows you to have specialized commands to do a variety of different things. So here, through terminal, we're going to access Python. And we're going to access Python by typing IDLE3. So idle3, IDLE3. And then I'm going to hit enter. And so right now, Python opens up. You can see the application is opened up. I'll click File, Open. And I need to find my Python file. That was located in Downloads because I had it there. So I found my folder, and I want to find my omen_linegraph Python file. I'll double click on it, and here's the Python file. Don't be overwhelmed. Most of it is just information. So anything in red that begins with this hashtag is just information for you. It tells you stuff to do or tells you what's being written in the code. What you need to pay attention to is anything that says your job. That is something that you specifically need to do in order for the file to work. So right now, let's go ahead and say your job. It says click File, save as last name underscore line graph. Actually, I already did that already, so I don't need to do that. Make sure you've changed the file name before you do any work below. Done. And then it says right here, this is the template you will use to create your visualization. Here's the libraries you need. A library just gives you access to different commands in Python, so we've already got that written. Here we go. It says this line reads your file and assigns it to a variable named data. So your job is to change the file name. This file name needs to be the name of your Excel file because this is the line that's reading the information from Excel. So the name of my Excel file was uman_LineGraph. So I'll go ahead and change this to uman_LineGraph. Let's make sure that you've got the same uppercase and lowercase letters. That matters. Okay, this line gives you your measures of central tendency, so I don't need to do anything there. It says these lines allow you to label your graph. So your job is to change the X and Y axis label and the title of your line graph. All right, so my Y label. My Y label is the number or the column or up and down. So I'm going to change this and I'll say count parentheses in 10 millions because that's the data that I was looking at. When I was looking at my Excel file, this is data in 10 millions. So you're going to have to figure out what your y-axis is going to be called. My x-axis is years. So I'll type in years. And then what's my title? Well, this story that I'm telling in this case is about international migrants. So I'll change my title to International Migrants in US and Russia. Okay, I'm done with that part. It says now, these lines create one line graph and show the graph. Column number 1 name is the x-axis and column number 2 is the y-axis. All right, so I've got to put in column number 1 name. So column number 1 name here is, this is column 1. So the name of it is years. So I'm going to get rid of this right here. And it's going to say data.years. Make sure that if you have it uppercase here, it's uppercase here. If it was lowercase here, it should be lowercase here. Now it says change this to column 2 name. So column 2 is US. So again, similarly, US is uppercase there. So I'm going to leave that, data.us. Okay. Now it says optional. If you want multiple line graphs to show, then edit the line below and delete the hashtag. Yeah, I need 2 lines. So I'm going to delete the hashtag, and then this turns this way. And then it says column number 1 name, again, is data.years. And now column number 3 name, this is the line graph for Russia. So I want to change this to data.russia. And now it says your job, edit the lines below to create a legend and delete the hashtag. So I'll go ahead and delete this hashtag. And I want to make a legend label for it. So one line is going to be US. The first line, the first one that I made, I've got to match that up. So the first one I made was US. The second line that I made was Russia. And this location 8, that just that's where on the graph the legend shows up. Let's go ahead and I'll just leave that as 8 for now, but let's go ahead and click File, Save. And the way that we run a Python file is we click Run and Run Module. And once I've run the module, it's now spitting out a chart for me. So now I've got my count in millions. You can see that my legend is down here. So I could change this to like location 7. You can just experiment. And then if you run it again, it'll change the location of that graph or that legend. So there, I like that better. So now I will screenshot my graph or my visualization. I will send it to Ms. Shore in whichever way she wants it. I'll also screenshot my measures of central tendency and then send that to her as well in whichever way she wants it. But I am done now with my line graph.